Pushkin.
In 2022, at 75 years old, Loudon Wainwright III released Lifetime Achievement, an aptly titled album from a songwriter whose debut came more than 50 years earlier. Over the decades, Loudon has built a reputation for his confessional style, writing candidly about the struggles and absurdities of family life, failed relationships, and the scars of parental abandonment. While his subject matter can be heavy, he often balances it with wit and humor. You'll hear that today when he performs Fam Vac and Back in Your Town from Lifetime Achievement. In this conversation with Bruce Headlam, Loudon reflects on how he leaned into his upper-class upbringing when he first began performing professionally, what it was like collaborating with guitar virtuoso Richard Thompson in the 80s, and the magical feeling of stepping on stage for his very first time. This is Broken Record. Real musicians, real conversations. Just a quick note here. You can listen to all of the music mentioned in this episode on our playlist, which you can find a link to in the show notes. For licensing reasons, each time a song is referenced in this episode, you'll hear this sound effect. All right, enjoy the episode. Here's Bruce Headlam with Loudon Wainwright III.
All right, you got Tolstoy, Sartre, and a Yiddish expression all in one song.
Town.
Man, you really pack it in. We don't have to be too official off the top, but we are here with Loudon Wainwright III. Do you still go by Loudon Wainwright III?
I answer to Loudon Wainwright III, but I'll also answer to Loudy or Loudon or...
Well, we're going to use Loudon Wainwright III. I think that's more official. And we're talking about your new album, Lifetime Achievement. Do you go into every album with a particular idea of something you want to do? Was there an idea or something that motivated this album?
No, what I do is I write these songs. I'm trying to write songs, and then when I gather together, I'm always thinking, when is it going to be time to make a record? This is the first studio record that I've made, I think, since 2014. So I gather a bunch of songs together. A lot of the songs are on topics that I've explored before in songs, but you kind of think, is this enough material to make a record? And then what kind of a record do I want to make? But I don't think I'm going to make a record about family alienation and the pandemic. Okay, here we go. It didn't really work that way, although the record is kind of about that too.
Now, you've got a song called How Old is 75?
Yeah.
And, some of the reviews have been, your winter album, looking back with remorse and loss. I didn't get that at all. I found this like a very upbeat, optimistic album, particularly from someone who's known for confessional songs and self-lacerating wit, songs that cut to the bone. This did not seem an album that is where you're overwhelmed by past failures. This seemed you're very much in the moment.
Yeah. I'm feeling pretty good these days, and the songs, death is referenced in the album, as is aging and diminishment.
To be fair, you've been talking about those since you were 30.
Yeah. The first line in my first song on my first record was "In Delaware when I was younger." So I've been obsessed with this thing, and now it's here. But no, I don't think it's a downer, this record. We tried to be careful about that.
In the first song, there's a great line, I want to talk the truth about the fountain of youth. To our eager audience out there, so what's the truth about the fountain of youth?
Well, I think that the line is, I want to tell the truth and find the fountain of youth.
Oh, okay.
That's another song that just talks about what I've been doing all this time. It's been, I've been making records for 50 plus years and wondering how much longer it can go on. But at the moment, it's feeling could go on. I think I'm going to make it to my 76th birthday.
I don't think anybody's written as many songs about family as you have, or certainly as many.
So I win that competition.
You win that competition.
Yay!
Many, many great songs. Your Mother and I and Lullaby, The Days We Die.
Yeah.
Hitting You.
Hitting You, When You Leave.
There are a lot. Are you conscious when you're writing the songs? Are you conscious of other people's reactions, your family's reactions?
Kind of like, oh, he's going to hate this one. Well, I'm aware of it. Yes, so I'm conscious of it, certainly. Yeah, I mean, but it is, as you say, it's I've been doing it for a long, long time. It's the waterfront I cover, one of the big ones. Certainly, we've had some tense Thanksgiving dinners over the years, but I think my family has come to expect this. And the members of my family, 3 out of my 4 kids are songwriters, and my other daughter is a wonderful prose writer. And they've all written about me and referenced me and talked about their take on the whole thing. So it's just part of the whole deal, and I feel okay about it.
Now, growing up, it seemed to me that you wanted to be a performer. You went to acting school.
Yeah.
Now, you did play guitar starting quite young. I think, did your dad give you a guitar?
My dad, who was a journalist for Life magazine, he also loved music, and he had a friend in the 1950s, quite a well-known songwriter and singer called Terry Gilkyson. He wrote, Memories Are Made of This, that big Dean Martin hit, and other things. But he was a drinking buddy of my dad's. He gave my dad a nylon string, beautiful little Mexican guitar, and then my dad bequeathed it to me. So that was my actual first guitar. I got it when I was about 13.
And did you immediately take to folk music?
In the early 60s, and the folk boom happened. I saw people like Ramblin' Jack Elliott and Pat Sky and Dave Van Ronk, and of course Bob Dylan, who were playing steel string guitars and at the Newport Folk Festival and stuff. Then I still hadn't written anything myself, but I got myself a Martin Dreadnought and started to emulate those guys, who were all just a few years older than me, actually.
Right.
I mean, Jack Elliott's not a few years older than me. He's in his 90s, but he sure was always springy and youthful.
So was songwriting just a way to get you up on stage?
I mean, I wanted to be on stage ever since I was 7, and I was showing off for my parents and stuff. But when I got on stage with a guitar, something seemed to click, and I was off and running, I suppose.
But you didn't emulate those guys. You didn't try to be a beatnik.
No,
you were up there in like a Brooks Brothers suit.
Right. You have to figure out a way to be noticed in the world and in show business in particular, I'd say. So I wore what I wore in boarding school, a Brooks Brothers blazer and gray flannel pants, no bell bottoms. I had short hair on my first couple of albums. Yeah, that was the look that I created to separate me from the pack. And it worked, kind of.
Yeah. Did you worry people would say, why do we want to listen to this kid from a private school in Westchester?
I didn't worry about it. I understood that I had to write about, I wasn't going to write about being a hobo on the rails or like Jack Elliott, invent myself into something that I wasn't. I decided to more or less take what I was, which was a guy that grew up in Westchester and went to boarding school and emphasize it and write about it. And then when I got married, I wrote about that. And, I just been writing about my swinging life all this time.
One thing that comes through in your autobiography liner notes, which I'm going to recommend to everybody because it's a wonderful book, is how competitive you were. I mean, you were a big swimmer, so I think maybe some of that comes from sports. But you were competitive with everybody. You would say at some point, when somebody else gets trashed, you feel a little bit better. I mean, another singer. I don't mean just a person walking down the street. Where does that competition come from?
Well, my father, the aforementioned father was successful in the world of journalism, and he was competitive, I don't want to blame it on my parents. I mean, this need to achieve or succeed is in me, and as far as my, people would say, boy, it must be great when you and Steve Goodman and John Prine and Leo Kottke can all go out and, have a cocktail or something. And I mean, we would do that at festivals and stuff, but I don't know about them, but I was always thinking, does he sell more records than me? And is that song better than my song? And, I'm not happy to admit it. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I do have a competitive streak.
It's not a bad thing. It motivates people.
It spurs you on, to do the best work that you can, and I'm not proud of it necessarily, but it's an engine. It provides you with an engine, and it's murder on your family life, and it leads to isolation and depression. So I would not advise being competitive to anybody.
To the kids out there,
yeah,
stay in school. Don't be too competitive.
Yeah,
you in your autobiography, I'm remembering now, you put your finger on, I think, one of the most terrifying moments in documentary film. And you talk about it, and it's in Don't Look Back, the Dylan documentary.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great moment, and scary too. They're in London, I guess, and they're in a hotel room, and Dylan is there, at the height of, his whole thing. Bobby Newirth is kind of lurking in the corner. The guy from the Animals, Alan Price, is there, and Donovan is there. And the guitar is being passed around, and Donovan, who's great, sings Try and Catch the Wind or something like that, which was a big radio record, probably sold more records than any Bob Dylan single.
But a little twee.
Yeah, a little twee and soft. And so Dylan and Newirth, kind of are nodding and saying, that's a pretty good song, man. And then Dylan takes the guitar and plays It's All Over Baby Blue. It's All Over Now, Baby Blue. And you can just see the look on Donovan's face. It's just like, oh my goodness. It was just so powerful.
And he smiles through it, but you can just see why don't you just break the guitar over my head?
Yeah.
It's killing.
Yeah. I mean, it's, jazz musicians, saxophone players in the 40s they were called cutting sessions, and Lester Young and Charlie Parker and, Dizzy Gillespie and these guys, they were all competitive with each other. I mean, so it's not, I don't think it's a bad thing, really.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be back with more from Loudon Wainwright III and Bruce Headlam after the break.
What did you take from your father as a writer? Are there similarities in what you do you think?
I've come to realize that there were, I was competitive with my father and stuff, which again, I don't advise for parents and children. But I got a lot from him. He died in 1988, and the way that I write songs there's a journalistic element to them. They're descriptive. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. I'm always trying to be very clear about what it is that I'm saying, and I think I got that from my dad. I hope so, anyway. I appreciate it.
Do you have any of his habits? Do you carry around a notebook and scribble down things?
I carry around my Filofax.
Wow.
People can't see this, but it's a pretty beat up old Filofax I got from the 1980s, in the hope that I'll see something or hear something and jot something down, and it could lead to a song, and it has done.
Mm-hmm. How often does something like that happen?
A song?
Just an idea, a thought that you'll jot down.
Well, I've got it in the bag. I mean, that's where the mystery comes in. How does a song start, or any piece of work? It's mysterious to me, despite the fact that I've been doing it for a long, long time. I liken it to fishing. I've got a line in the water. Whether I get a bite or can get it in the boat once I get a bite depends. But it's mysterious.
Yeah. What's the old line? It's called fishing, not catching.
Yeah, I like that.
And then do you sit down with your guitar and just flip through the book and see what happens?
Yeah, I mean, it's all very disorganized and random. Or I'll write something down, or I'll find something in the book that I've forgotten about, and or I'll, quite often for me, a song can start from the first line. An example from the new album would be, "I need a family vacation. I mean a family vacation alone." So that's a good starting place for a guy like me. The first line is often a kind of springboard.
Mm-hmm. Where does that impulse come from? Your father wrote about his family in Life magazine. I don't think he wrote about it quite in the way you write about it.
Right. Well,
because it was Life magazine.
Yeah. He had constraints on him because Life magazine was fairly conservative, actually. But I think by nature he was a little more conservative. He was a different generation. The aforementioned Bob Dylan. He kind of freed it up. You could write about your life. He was always oblique, so you never knew exactly what the hell he was talking about.
You could listen to every Bob Dylan song and not know anything about Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
I suspect he likes it that way.
Yeah. I definitely have a confessional streak, propensity, as it were. But
have you ever felt you've gone too far with the song?
Yeah, I have. And then I go ahead and go too far anyway. Although there are some songs that I don't sing anymore that I know have upset people, or that they've told me that, and I'm trying to I'm working on it. Yeah, yeah.
Can you give me an example of one that you just don't perform for that reason?
Yeah, there's a song called it's a song called "That Hospital," and it's about a hospital in northern Westchester where some key events happened, and I just realized that I shouldn't do that song anymore.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I think I'll think, oh, this is close to the bone, and then I'll think that's a good thing. I want to push it for my audience, And again, I'm when I'm writing about my experiences in my family or my marriages or with my kids, or this is not foreign territory. People know exactly what I'm talking about. People will come up and say, "Boy, that song about you and your sister or you and your kid, you mentioned that song hitting you." They'll actually thank me. They don't give me any extra money, but they will thank me.
When you write a song like that, are you stating a way you feel, or in writing it, are you working through those feelings?
Well, working through somehow implies that that there's a therapeutic aspect to it. I don't think there is. And it could be argued that focusing on marital, familial problems, could make it worse. But it's interesting, writing about my loved ones. They're the most important people in my life. They're the biggest people in my life. They're the people that we're all part of each other. So it's always struck me that's who I should be writing about.
One of my favorite lines from your book is in reference, not to your work, but in reference to your father and mother. You're imagining how they came together, your father being a upper middle class guy, your mother from Georgia. You had a beautiful line, which was, it's basically about how men at some point, after they feel comfortable, feel the need to tell everybody what a piece of shit they are. And the line was, the confession of weakness to a woman is so often a search for sweet absolution.
Boy.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah,
you look surprised at that.
That's good, and it certainly was the case in with my parents. I think I might go. Somehow I think of them. Imagine your parents before you were on the scene, or even maybe the moment after you were conceived. Lying in bed, and undoubtedly my father would be smoking a cigarette, and just unloading and talking about how he felt, and my mother was a good listener. In the end, the marriage didn't work out that could have been one of the problems. He didn't listen well enough, or, she didn't get a chance to unload her emotional baggage.
Right. Do you feel your confessional nature's in part looking for absolution? Is it a way of making amends, to put it in song?
There's plenty of amends to be made. I guess just writing about it maybe is saying, okay, here it is. Let's look at it for 3 minutes. Maybe that's part of some kind of an amends process. But again, it can create distance too. So, and isolation. So I really don't know.
Your father was also, I'm surprised to read, a successful short story writer, which he had to give up.
Yeah,
for family reasons. But tell me a bit about that.
Well, every young writer imagines and hopes to be in the New Yorker magazine. And my dad has had 3 of his short stories published in the New Yorker in the late 40s. And one in particular is brilliant and completely holds up. A story he wrote about the boarding school that he went to, that I actually went to too, the same school. Mm-hmm. And so when he writes about it, I can picture it in my own mind. Anyway, the stories were in New Yorker. He was 22 or 23, whatever he was, and boy, that's the beginning of something big. But he had a wife and 3 small kids, me and my brother and sister at that point, and they moved up to New York, and he had to get a job, and so he started to work for Life magazine. Mm-hmm. And he stayed at the magazine for his pretty much life. So he never got to really focus on writing fiction. Then he tried to write a lot of, nonfiction books, and he had problems with that too. The book was looming for him. So,
This is common among journalists. They think they've got to do their magnum opus.
Yeah.
Or they're just hacks.
Yeah. And it was torture for him. Mm-hmm. But he was so successful as a journalist, as an editor, as a columnist. His columns are also brilliant, and a few of them I printed in my book because I just wanted to share the work. I mean, the quality of the writing is so great. And then later I constructed a kind of theatrical show called Surviving Twin, where I actually performed some of his columns. Mm-hmm. So it looked like, it's such a pity that he couldn't have enjoyed his success, but he was tortured about the book.
The people he was writing with probably at that time were people like John Cheever, and you're often sort of thought of as this Cheever character. You went to private school.
Yeah.
Although from the sounds of it, you didn't like it. You went to boarding school.
Didn't like it, but it sure had an impact on me.
Oh, what was the impact?
Yeah, it had a big effect on me. I mean, I referenced that in Delaware when I was younger. My very first song on my first record was about that boarding school. I have some gratitude about that boarding school. First of all, it was a good school. It is a good school. St. Andrews, it's in Delaware. And but at the time, I was a miserable young man. I probably would have been miserable anywhere. Mm-hmm. So I'm not blaming my old boarding school.
You just wanted your parents to pay for it.
Right. Well, I didn't want to go, but my father, again, my father went to the same school. He was miserable. He thought I should go.
Mm-hmm. And did his father go to that school as well?
He didn't go to that school. He went to Trinity Pauling, I think, or something. My son Rufus went to boarding school, different school. He went to Millbrook. And he succeeded and found himself kind of at Millbrook. I mean, this is what I think. I think he would say that it was a good experience for him.
So I started this by saying, you're compared to Cheever because of your background. But to me, you're more like Updike. And this is why. When I read
my girlfriend's
Updike,
going to love this because she loves John Updike.
She likes John Updike? Okay. Well, I've only really read the Rabbit books, but my issue with Updike is he's kind of giving the game away of being a man. He tells things about men and their wormy little desires and their awful behavior that I feel would be best not put out into the world.
Yeah.
And you've got some of that. I think of songs like 4x10, One Man Guy, less so. One of my favorite songs of yours, which is just called Men.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in what that part of it is like for you, to be a guy and kind of, because guys are sort of taught not to emote, not to reveal ourselves, or traditionally men were taught.
Well, in songs, my songs are written to be performed. I mean, I make records, but I'm always thinking about what's this going to do to the 300 people, or if it's good, maybe 3,000 people that are sitting out there in the dark. And talking about that stuff, I feel safe. I mean, I know that there could be a ooh factor, but or ooh, don't do that, or don't say that, or don't reveal that. But I just as a guy who wanted to be a performer I just know that I can feel that it's doing something to the audience. It might be making them a little uncomfortable. I've had a tendency to do it. I don't quite know why, except that it seems to work for me.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Even on this album, when you're writing these songs, you're thinking, how's this going to work live? How's it going to affect people?
I think so. When I'm actually, I'm always thinking of that group of people in the audience. And will it have an effect on them? And it can be different effects. Some of the songs are funny. Some of them are not funny at all. Some of them can do both. They can swerve into, they have jokes planted in them. Comic relief, if you will, to use the theatrical term. But it's all about taking that 3 minutes, or if it's a whole show, that 90 minutes, and just taking them somewhere, or dragging them somewhere in some case.
But that does sound like you conceive of your performances almost as theater.
I think it is. It's a way. You're in the dark. People are in the dark and they're watching you on stage, and you're performing for them. It's an act. But again, it can create this magic. There can be magic there.
Mm-hmm. Is that magic you feel when you're on stage? Is that kind of feeds your performance?
Yeah. It's a great feeling. When I was a kid and I was in school plays, I was never happier. Just showing off, just being there. I mean, I knew that's as good as it gets.
Mm-hmm. And so songs like "Your Mother and I," which is one of your most famous songs, it's a heartbreaking song. "Hitting You," which is about hitting your daughter. Realizing you've hit her too hard.
Right, losing it in an anger, giving her a whack.
That would be the story, but underlying the song is something I think that terrifies all parents, is that you've broken something that can't be fixed.
Yeah.
When you get to those kind of lines, can you feel that reaction?
You mean when I'm performing the song?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, again, it's people coming up after the show and saying that song, and you have the kid that's getting whacked, but then you have the parent that did it and just thinks, "Oh my God, I'm going to pay for this." That was I lost it, and so it's a subject which is pretty powerful.
Yeah. Speaking of your songs like "Your Mother and I" and other romantic songs or anti-romantic songs, you mentioned you come up with a syndrome in your book, Sir Walter Raleigh syndrome.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to explain that.
The Sir Walter Raleigh syndrome. Sir Walter Raleigh famously, I guess it was Elizabeth I, or some Elizabeth or other, was walking along with the Queen, and there's a mud puddle, and he lays down his cape so that she doesn't get her, and again, it's generational. My mother encouraged it, this thing for just making sure that women are, opening the door and giving them the chair and paying the check, always, that's a role that some men do or have, and I certainly have it. But of course, what it does is it creates a kind of a resentment. Hey, why doesn't she walk around the damn mud puddle? Or get the these capes, I have to go to the dry cleaner again with these capes. Give me a break. So it's a kind of a syndrome, and it's probably not good for either the Queen or Sir Walter Raleigh. But in this case, I was identifying with Sir Walter Raleigh.
Mm-hmm. And you've seen that resentment play out?
It's played out in my own life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tell me about, I think it's just a beautiful song on the album, which is Back in Your Town.
Back in Your Town, yeah. Thank you. That's a bit older. That's about 15 years older.
Okay.
15 years old. I had now she's a great friend of mine, Tracy McLeod. We lived together for a couple of years, and she's English, and so it was about going back to London and actually walking past her house in St. John's Wood, where we lived together, and just that feeling of, God, she's up there. And just being in, the power of going back to that place.
Mm-hmm. You have a line about feeling like a refugee and a louse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's always tricky to come up with a word to rhyme with house. But, you got mouse. Yeah. There aren't many, but louse in this case seemed to work.
Mm-hmm. You have other songs like Little Piece of Me, which is about traveling. Are they all instigated by specific episodes? I could see somebody writing Back in Your Town and saying, well, that wasn't really about anybody. That's just that feeling you get in another city. But for you, that was that very specific feeling.
Well, again, in the process of writing it, I think of the specifics. I think of the town. I think of that person. I can picture that street. I know exactly where that, looking up into that window is. So, and again, we talked about my dad's influence, specificity. In the process, hopefully it's generic. Hopefully everybody can identify with it, but I work with the specifics of things.
I also thought, listening to that song, you have your dad's journalistic tendency, which is you never want to use the same word twice. So it's place, or it's town, then it's place, then it's burg, right, which rhymes with curb, which means you can do that line about almost getting hit by a bus.
Yeah.
The only thing that gives away the song is the double-decker bus. I thought, well, it must be England then.
God, I feel like I should play this song for you.
Play it, please.
For the people. Gosh.
Before we go, I do want to ask you about a couple of our favorite people that you've worked with. And the first is Richard Thompson.
Oh, yeah.
You did, I think, 2 albums with him in the 80s. Tell me about that.
Wow, Rich. In 1985 or 4, talking about all my old gal friends, Suzy Roach and I split up, and I decided to go to England, and I actually went over there and bought a flat up in West Hampstead, and I had met Richard probably around 1978, and had been prior to that, I'd been a huge fan of his work, but we did some festivals and things together in '78, and so when I got over there, I was getting ready to make a record, and I was talking to my friend Paul Charles, and I said, "What about if I ask Richard to produce it?" And Paul said, "Yeah," and I asked him, and he did it. It's a record called "I'm All Right," and I should say that in the late '70s, I kind of was making some kind of overproduced, kind of crappy records. They weren't totally crappy, but there was an element of overproduction. So Richard and I talked about, and he suggested that we really, if we do production, we're going to do production where the song is served by the production, and not worry about getting it on the radio and stuff. So, and that's what we did with that record. And then we did another record called More Love Songs. Again, there's drums on it, and there's a bass on it, and there's stuff on it, but it doesn't get in the way of the songs. And of course, there's Richard's guitar playing, which is kind of ridiculously marvelous. So those records I feel good about those records. They got nominated for Grammys, and people liked them a lot. And so I was very happy to work with Rich, and occasionally we get to do shows. He last year, or I guess it was because of the pandemic, it was a couple of years ago, he celebrated his 70th birthday at a big show at Albert Hall in London, and I got to go and sing and play with him. And I love Rich. He's the greatest.
I mean, I'm interested in you guys sitting with guitars because he is a brilliant guitarist. You are really underrated as a guitar player.
Oh,
and as an instrumentalist, I think.
Well, I play rhythm guitar, and it's all about what's going on with the right hand, because I can't really play any licks. Like, I've played with great guitar players, Richard Thompson, Bill Frisell, John Schofield. I mean, these guys. But I feel pretty good about my rhythm guitar playing. It's pretty solid.
Now, there's some beautiful instrumentation on this new album. Lifetime Achievement, Back in Your Town's got a beautiful treatment. Little Piece of Me, I think, has got some. Well, you also play banjo.
I play some banjo on the record, too. And that's Haim Tannenbaum playing the other banjo. My other great guitar player who's all over this record is David Mansfield, who's a great, he's up there in that strata with those guys.
Right. Also, I would say Richard Thompson, if there were a list of artists who have turned broken relationships into great art, I would say you two would be in the top 5 easily. He's one of the great breakup albums of all time.
Are you talking about Shoot Out the Lights?
Yeah.
That's a great record. And he and his wife. Of course, Richard doesn't.
He and his wife, Linda, we should mention.
Sure. Linda just had a birthday.
Oh, okay.
A couple of days ago. Linda and Rich, I mean, they made those wonderful records. And talk about breakup albums. I saw some of the shows that they did to support Shoot Out the Lights. And boy, that was Strindberg on stage at the bottom line. I mean, it was ferociously, and it's so compelling, Of course, Richard, if you ask him, is this one about? What's this one about? And what girl? And what? He says he denies that it's autobiographical, but that's his option.
The other person I wanted to ask about was Joe Henry.
Yeah. Oh, well,
great songwriter.
Great songwriter.
Great producer.
Great producer. We did a couple of records together, and great guy all around. Working with Joe, when Joe works, he gets together his group of players, and it's in the room and it's live. Greg Lease, David Pilch, Jay Bellerose, this amazing drummer that Joe likes to use, that T-Bone Burnett is now poached and taken away. But Joe's about getting the guys in the room and just making it real in the room, and then capturing the recording. And he makes beautiful records with a lot of different people and writes wonderful songs.
Is that a way you like to record?
It's fun to do it that way. I've done it that way. And when Joe's at the helm, I feel confident. When we did this last record, Lifetime Achievement, I went into the studio by myself with my guitar and laid down all of my stuff beforehand. And then we added stuff. That's another way that I've worked, where you just get the core of what I do, which is me playing the guitar. And then Stewart and Dick Kinnett, they worked with, well, let's put Mansfield over here and Tannenbaum over here, and maybe bring in a drummer secretly.
And you'll add the drums after you lay down the rhythm track?
On this record we did.
Yeah, that's interesting. Joe Henry's also a way of mentioning that you guys worked on the Knocked Up soundtrack, which had Daughter, which is a great song of yours, which we haven't talked about. In fact, you do act all the time. You're in all kinds of things, always.
Well, I get acting jobs, and Joe and I did do the Strange Weirdos record, which is kind of a soundtrack record for the Judd Apatow movie of Knocked Up, and Joe produced that record, Daughter, which is from that album, which I have to say and admit to you that I did not write.
No.
A lot of people think I wrote it. It was written by the I'm so effusive with my praise today, with the wonderful, incredible songwriter Peter Blegvad. He wrote Daughter, and I sang it and we recorded it. And but a lot of people think that I wrote Daughter. I wish I had, but I didn't.
Just take it. When I was just reading things about this album and about what you're doing now, I came across the NPR review of the album. And I don't know if you read that or not. But there was a paragraph that jumped out at me, which was well before owning up to privilege was a thing. Wainwright had made a career out of being honest about his white Anglo-Saxon Protestant upbringing, freely admitting that male wasps like him got away with far too much. Now, I guess that's accurate. It feels a little...
Sounds a little updikey.
A little updikey, a little hostile. The world has changed and the way we think about families and men and women and relationships has changed. Could you be the same singer-songwriter coming up today?
You mean, could I get away with it? Or would I?
Yes.
Yes, that's what you mean?
In a way, yes.
Probably not. I mean, there's so much that you can't get away with today. I'm thinking I have a song on my second album. There's a song called Motel Blues, which Joe Henry recorded it on the record that we did called Recovery with his band. It's a good song.
Great song.
It's about being lonely and about trying to lure a woman up to my room because I'm lonely and that's what it's about. And
come and save my life.
Right. It's come up to my motel room, save my life, and then it says come up to my motel room, sleep with me. So could you do that now? I don't know, but or would I have written that now? I like to think that I would have because it's what happened. And it doesn't happen now. Now it's come up to my motel room and show me how to work the Wi-Fi. So it's not really an issue for me now. But as a 22-year-old lonely touring musician, it was what was going on. So I wrote about it.
All right, listen, thank you so much.
I've enjoyed talking with you.
Just great talking and a great album. Another great album. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
In the episode description, you'll find a link to a playlist of our favorite Loudon Wainwright III tracks, as well as his latest album, Lifetime Achievement. Be sure to check out youtube.com/Broken Record Podcast to see all our video interviews. And be sure to follow us on Instagram at The Broken Record Pod. You can follow us on Twitter at Broken Record. Broken Record is produced and edited by Leah Rose with marketing help from Eric Sandler and Jordan McMillan. Our engineer is Ben Tolliday. Broken Record is a production of Pushkin Industries. And if you like this show, please remember to share, rate, and review us on your podcast app. Our theme music's by Kenny Beats. I'm Justin Richmond.